Do you remember the windows? The wood was very thin.
I remember how they folded to open and close.
They've never changed. When it was warm, we used to open them. We were taught by Miss Stobart here.
Yes, sewing.
She was short and stocky.
She was a strict teacher and taught us sewing.
She transferred from Liverpool to Bradford as a deputy head teacher. In Liverpool, children were allowed to sign, but we weren't allowed to sign. There was a boy who was deaf and blind, and we used to spell words on his hands. He was a very strong boy. I don't know what happened to him. We knew sign language, but we weren't allowed to use it.
We used sign language at the Bradford Deaf Club.
Miss Bland, the head teacher, and Reverend James, Bradford Deaf Club, had a row about being allowed to use sign language.
Do you remember the big fireplace that was over there? The teacher would stand there. He would write things like, "The sun is shining," and things like that. That was where the blackboard was, just there.
Next to the fireplace, I remember the old-fashioned revolving blackboard. There was one of those things with beads for counting. What was it?
I remember there were 3 or 4 pieces of chalk in the groove below the blackboard. I remember this was a very big room before. We all sat in a semicircle on chairs. About 10 a.m. we had a drink of orange juice with straws. Then we had our break and went out to play.
This was a wartime shelter. It was used around 1943 to 1945.
I would have been about 4.5 years old.
These cupboards were not here. Beds were over here. We were sat up in bed and a teacher was with us. It's in the corner of the cellar, the old oven. The cellar's still the same. The other oven upstairs has been removed. The upstairs oven was big with doors. We used a long wooden spade to put the food in the oven. The floor's still the same.
Well, my mother told me that when she dropped me off at the school, well, firstly, my mother looked around the school before I started. And she said she would drop me off, and I wasn't bothered. I waved bye-bye and marched off to play with the other children. My mum was a bit upset. That's all I can remember. I didn't cry or anything.
I hated learning sewing and knitting. Hated it.
I learnt knitting. It was okay, but I didn't like the teacher, Miss Stobart.
I learned art, cooking, not straight away. Art. Yes, art. And we learned to knit. We knitted a vest. It took a long time to do it. It came out perfect. We started to learn when we were about 6 or 7 years old. We improved our skills. We all wore them, the same as Yvonne and Brenda. It was good, but we didn't learn any cooking straight away.
I learnt English, arithmetic, not maths, sums. Lip reading, spelling words. My favourite subject was English. Writing about what you did every day. Like homework. I preferred English because English is used everywhere. We had to learn it. Arithmetic was simple. Pennies, shillings, pounds. That's what we had in those days. Now it has changed to decimal. I prefer pennies, shillings and pounds.
Mrs. Stobart was stupid. She had us all in the hall, in lines, singing. We didn't know how to sing. We didn't know what we were doing. We were deaf. She made me go to the front. I pretended to sing, but I didn't know what I was doing. How stupid. We wanted to sign.
I played the triangle and was told when to hit it. We also had drums. And what else were there? I can't remember.
Oh, the cymbals. Do you remember
There were the cymbals,
which
yes.
we couldn't hear?
Yeah, we did the cymbals. She told us when to do it, and if we got it wrong, she became annoyed.